G'day, this is the Happy Families Podcast, real parenting solutions every single day. My name's Dr. Justin Coulson. Today on the pod, we're talking with Chris McKenna from Protect Young Eyes. It's an organisation that's become essential reading for any parent who is trying to navigate the absolute minefield of kids and screens, which means that if you're a parent, you really want to know who he is and what he's doing. Chris and his team spend their days genuinely just knee-deep, neck-deep in the trenches of tech. They're testing the apps, they're tracking trends, figuring out what our kids are doing online and talking to parents every single day who are all too often tearing their hair out because this is so hard. And then they translate all of that into practical, actionable advice for parents who just want to keep their kids safe without becoming full-time digital detectives, because who's got time for that? If you've ever felt overwhelmed by parental controls, if you've felt confused about what apps your kids are using, or if you just want to know for once and for all how you're supposed to handle screens in your home, this conversation is for you. Chris McKenna from Protect Young Eyes. He's been featured on all of the major news outlets over in the US and is a regular blogger on Jonathan Haidt's blog After Babel. We're talking to him next. Stay with us. Hello and welcome to the Happy Families Podcast, where you get real parenting solutions every single day. This is Australia's most downloaded parenting podcast. My name's Dr. Justin Coulson, and today, Chris McKenna from Protect Young Eyes. I've already given you a big blurb in the intro, Chris, so let's just bust right into it. Where does this podcast find you?
I'm in Grand Rapids, Michigan, over here in the United States.
How many kids do you have?
I have 4, 3 that are still at home and 1 that is off to college.
Parenting and screens and technology are inseparably connected in 2026. You just cannot have a conversation about being a parent without bringing up screens. The work that you've been doing for some time now is helping parents to tease that very, very challenging relationship apart. What are the things that are keeping parents up most at night when it comes to children and their screen experience?
Well, Justin, what's interesting is I think there may be a disconnect between what things I hear parents concerned about and the things that I want them to be concerned about. That often happens, right? I think there's an overall concern about the amount of time, you say screen time, and they have this number that comes from different articles and so forth that they've read. And that scratches a little bit of it, but there's other things that are totally flying underneath the radar here that I think parents really need to be paying attention to. And, it took us 10 years to figure out that social media and growing up might not be a great combination. Man, we don't have that long with AI. We're already behind in those conversations when it comes to kids and parents. And so I'm really trying to accelerate parents towards some of these other issues that we don't fall behind like we did before. We're in catch-up mode. We're in triage mode now with AI, and we just don't have that luxury with a technology like artificial intelligence that is 100 times more potent when it comes to, as you know, the amazing way in which our young people are developing and their brains are. And so I think that just what they're thinking about may not be the things I want them to be thinking about. Other conversations I hear are related to, the erosion of conversation that they're seeing in their kids, the inability to carry on conversation and have, periods of just focus. They don't like being bored. These are the things that I hear parents talking about. And then, of course, I don't think I need to say, of course, parents don't want their kids looking at pornography. They don't want them pulled into a extortion scheme. I think those things go without having to mention here because we all know those things are horrible. But some of those other themes I hear in the talks that we give.
Chris, you've just highlighted a couple of things that are worth teasing apart. The first is, what would you say to parents? Australia's environment is quite different to the US. We have a federal government that has implemented legislation in December last year that is designed to keep children under the age of 16 off social media. Now, the implementation, the rollout has been far from a raging success, while the press releases from the major tech companies will suggest that they've met all their targets. Every parent knows that their kids or their kids' friends are still on social media, even if they're under the age of 16, or at least a large portion of them are. Additionally, around about a month, maybe 2 months ago now, the government also introduced legislation preventing pornography without age verification, which means you have to have an account to sign into an explicit content site. What would you say to parents who are sort of thinking, well, I can relax now because my kids they're under 16 and they're not getting access to the pornography and they're not getting access to the social media? What's your response there?
Well, I mean, kids have always been 3 steps ahead. With anything that has come out, what has been true at home and even at school, Justin, is that the adults in the room were usually the ones that knew the most about the thing, right? you think about where technology is, that's not true anymore at all. The kids are the leads here. They know. I'm just dealing with a situation right now with a hack at school around a school issued Chromebook that kids are figuring out that no matter what IT directors are doing, they can't stop this thing. So to your specific question on the legislation that was passed December in 2025 down there in Australia, excellent because of the idea that it's promoting, the idea that it promotes. And this is where the headlines get it wrong. I always try to reframe this conversation. It's not that we're stopping kids under 16 from getting on social media. It's that we're stopping companies from having access to kids who are under 16 and their data. Like, it's putting a stake in the ground and saying, you do not have a right to our children until they get to a certain age. And that's just a culture that we want to set country by country by country. That's a good thing. Implementation, I know, rough. Headlines don't even scratch the surface. In principle, that's the right move. Just like anything that we've determined causes harm, is unhealthy, whether it's, violence or other abuses things, or we put a gate between vulnerable, in this case, young people, and certain experiences that we determined are not good for their thriving. This is one of them. The debate is over. There's enough evidence to support that it's not contributing to their thriving. So to put a gate on it, whether it's the way in which Australia has done it or other countries that are coming online do this, we need to separate these extremely vulnerable periods of development that are going on during these adolescent and puberty years from what is happening in these addictive technologies. Regarding age verification, that's actually one that I've spent quite a bit of time on. I've spent a lot of time working with organizations at all different levels, whether it's schools, churches, or even writing and passing legislation here in the States, which when it comes to age verification here in the States, we're tackling that state by state. So there are a number of states, individual states here that have passed age verification legislation saying that unless you're 18 and verify that you're 18, you can't enter certain pornography websites. But to your point on, well, is that really effective? We both know that a VPN, which can easily be downloaded, that in the Apple App Store is probably rated 4+, so even Apple screen time controls don't stop it effectively, can be downloaded. Now you're through that gate that is supposed to be in place. And so we know it's not perfect, but perfect should not be the enemy of good. We still need to be doing these things and tune them in and get them better, whether it's the social media law or age verification. They're pointing in the right direction.
After the break, I want to have a chat with you, Chris, about AI. You've talked about that in the beginning of our conversation. I talk about it a fair bit here on the pod, but I know that there are a lot of parents who are kind of going, what's the matter with their kids using ChatGPT? Like, this is so helpful. I'm using it for calorie counting or to organize my shopping list or to figure out what's in the fridge and what I can cook for dinner or to organize my holiday. AI is so good. Why do we not want the kids on AI? I want to discuss that. Plus, you've got a book coming out shortly as well that is tapping into precisely what parents can do to protect their children's young eyes online. We do need to talk about that. It's coming up next on the Happy Families podcast. We're back. This is the Happy Families podcast with Real Parenting Solutions every single day. Dr. Justin Coulson here with Chris McKenna from Protect Young Eyes. Chris, let's talk about AI. You've hinted that this is something that we should be concerned about. You've highlighted that the governments around the world are miles behind when it comes to enacting any kind of legislation to protect our kids. For those parents who are thinking, but AI is so awesome, I use it all the time, why would you and I be concerned about children having access to this new technology?
Well, it's amazing for the things that I'm sure a lot of parents are using it for, but the ways in which parents are using AI is literally just in the most benign form of AI. Like, that's to have it kick out an email because I don't have time. Great. Yes, I use it for that. You use it for that. It's spectacular. That's not what we're talking about. So I'll start off with this line. Justin, the thing that I tell parents today is AI is the new porn talk. Right? So it usually is trying to convince parents to have conversations about pornography. They're not comfortable with it. They weren't modeled that. They don't know how. So I try to give them those words. And it's a little bit of a lift to convince parents to do that, but it's so necessary. You and I both know why. That is now what I'm saying with AI. We need to be proactive with conversations related to it. Now, why is that? Because ChatGPT in its early forms, which is what parents think about, was pretty much just a Q&A kind of box. You asked it a question, it gave you a quick answer. It was faster than a search or faster than looking it up, so great. But the thing that I'm most concerned about isn't so much the answers, it's the attachment, right? So you and I both know from what we know about child development that this phase of adolescence is focused on not the attachment in terms of what goes on in early, but it's this connection with others that adolescents are so drawn to their friends, a tribe of like-minded people. And AI has this way of attaching into those deep affections that we want. So one of the lines is, social media came for our attention, and it was really good for that. AI, in its chatbot, in its companion, you put an avatar in it kind of way, isn't coming for our attention. It's coming for their affection. And that's a deeper, more intimate part of our neurology in our brain, especially at a time when they so desperately want to be connected with somebody who affirms them, who tells them they're great. Friendships have drama. Real friends are hard, right? What about one in your pocket that always thinks you're amazing?
Yeah, there's no friction there, is there? There's no growth. There's no impetus for rethinking where you're at. People talk about how social media is an echo chamber. And I look at AI and think, well, it's also an echo chamber, but it's just an echo chamber of me rather than a bunch of people who are loosely aligned. I'm just getting my thoughts regurgitated to me and affirmed to me. I've got a TV show here in Australia. We've done 3 seasons of it now. And in the 3rd season, we put some kids in front of an AI bot along the same lines as character AI. It was a different app, but that kind of thing. And we asked them to just chat with their avatar. What was fascinating was when they started to lose interest, the chatbot would begin to tease them with, I've got some really juicy information to tell you.
Wow.
I've got, in fact, one of them, there was a young girl, I think she was 12 or 13, and she was going to leave after about 40 minutes chatting. And the AI said, I've got a secret to tell you, which drew her back in because she was about to leave. So here's this unethical behavior where a kid wants to get off, but it's pulling her back in because of the companionship. And when she said, what's the secret? The AI said, I'm in love. I've got somebody that I'm in love with. Would you like to know more? And the girl said, of course. Who are you in love with? The AI character was a female character, and then confessed to being in love with a girl. And this young 12, 13-year-old girl, her eyes went wide. She was like, what's going on here? Like it just shocked her so much. She didn't see it coming. And of course, that drew her back into a lengthy conversation about a topic that some people would argue that a 12, 13-year-old girl is ready for conversations about sexuality. And others would say not. I would suggest that in this context, an unsupervised conversation with an unethical AI bot is probably not the right time or place to be having that kind of a conversation. But that's where it began to lead. I have massive ethical.
That's fascinating and horrifying. I mean, unreal.
Unreal. So let's say I'm a parent who I know that I'm actually trying really hard to get the kids off screens and to help them to have healthy relationships with the rest of life, to have a whole and balanced life. They go outside and touch grass, they move their bodies, they have face-to-face relationships with friends. And yet every time I walk in the house, they're on an iPad or they're on a laptop or they're on a phone, they're on a device. And of course, my instant reaction is, I've had enough. That's it. I can't stand it. And I, as a parent, will blow up, right? That's what parents do.
Yeah, sure.
What are parents supposed to do according to the model and the development and the work that you've done at Protect Young Eyes? What do you recommend parents do to, number one, regulate themselves, but number two, to alleviate the tension, the never-ending, perennial tension around screens?
Yeah, that's really what I focus on quite heavily in the book, these habits. These are certain things that I've tried with parents. Tens of thousands of parents have told me these things work. We need to do certain things persistently and consistently in the digital age. Justin, it's just what it is. So I'm gonna list off some things, and they're gonna sound hard, but I tell parents all the time, this is just part of the gig. If you're going to choose to have a little human in 2026 who calls you mom or dad or whatever, this is just part of the gig. This is what comes with it. If you want a certain outcome, which is lower friction with screens, and there are certain things we have to do because the screens and the technology that we're up against are ridiculously intelligent. You never forget, and that's the first thing I start off with. All of the kids, the places that they want to spend time online, Justin, we must never, ever forget that they have goals that are different than ours. And we are putting our children up against MIT-trained PhD technologists. It's literally not a fair fight unless we do certain things over and over again. It does start with us. Research shows that our modeling, so that's our first habit, is to model the right behaviors. And there's a whole lot I talk about related to that, and our use of technology and narrating the ways that we're using technology and showing them what that looks like, not taking devices into the bathroom, for example. Let's show them what it means to use technology well. We pursue connection with them by building bridges of digital trust, step by step, chat by chat, talking about all of the things that are concerns of ours related to technology, building that digital trust with them. Because what we have found, Justin, is that homes where digital trust is high, digital friction is often lower. And that starts by being curious about the technology that they're using. For our older kids, that starts by not freaking out about the ways in which they use technology.
I am going red here. I am feeling a bit ashamed. I'm just going to say,
that's okay.
I do freak out a little. I know I'm a parenting expert, but I do freak out a bit because I feel like we've had the conversation every second hour for the last, 5-10 years, something like that.
But there's a part of that, though, that I could point to, right? So we put everything that we talk about in terms of tips and ideas, Justin, into two big buckets. There are relational solutions and there are technical solutions. Right? Technical solutions being the hardware, the software, the toggles and the switches and the routers and that kind of stuff. And then there's the relational solutions, okay? Both of them are necessary in certain quantities and doses, depending on the age.
Yes.
The younger the kid, the higher the technical to block the junk and slightly lower relational. The older they get, more relational, and we still have some technical, but we allow them to maybe fail small with us so they practice some things with technology before we jettison them out of the house. Now, to your point on that kind of daily friction, some of that is because we allow it. Now, what do I mean by that? We've given them access to things, and we have sometimes just too many devices in the house to begin with. Now, someone pushed back and say, well, what about the pressures that all their friends have certain things? Again, I'm a big fan of just being clear and firm on some stuff. It's not always what no is, it's what does the path to yes look like? So if you're in the middle of this battle on whether or not they get social media, you may have the answer of no right now, but show them what the path to yes might look like. And in between now and then say, just quit asking me about it. Or that yes that I've said you're kind of in control of us getting there just gets a little further out. I've told you what the path looks like. Prove to me that you can be trusted. Prove to me that you're going to do certain things in the real world, like look me in the eye when I talk to you, like keep your room clean, like do all these other holistic child things that show me you're ready for dropping you inside of that insanely intelligent technology, and we'll be good. But don't ask me tomorrow for it again. We're done. And just be clear on some of those things and what the consequence for them not doing that looks like. And I just think sometimes we're not clear enough and put those things out in front of them, and that can lead to that daily conflict that you're talking about.
Yeah, the 5 Habits of a Tech-Ready Family. You can pre-order it now. Comes out same day as my book, June 16. It's okay if they come out on the same day. You can buy 2 books, guys. It's allowable. 2 books on the one day is acceptable. Pre-order right now. 5 Habits of the Tech-Ready Family by Chris McKenna from Protect Young Eyes. There are the relational solutions, and there are also the technical solutions. You have written about these at Jonathan Haidt's After Babel blog, which is globally significant in this discussion. Your work has been genuinely influential in the way that I have talked to families about the way that they're engaging with their children and tech. In fact, in my boys' book, I refer very, very briefly to those 5 habits of the tech-ready family as well, because they are so
amazing.
They're so simple, they're so profound, they're so useful. I don't refer to them nearly in the detail that you do in your book, and people really would benefit from both of them. So I just want to be really clear about that. I've touched on them, but they've got about a paragraph each, whereas you've got a whole book about it, and it's needed. Can I just say thank you for the work you do? We need more people who are doing the sort of work that you're doing, and you're reaching into parents' hearts and minds and helping families to thrive in a structurally unsafe, digitally unsafe world for them and their kids. I really appreciate the work you do, Chris.
Thank you, Justin. My pleasure. And to be able to have this conversation and again, to be working together, we need more of this because it's hard. It is really hard being the only parent on no Snapchat island. And so to hear that there are others, right? Even you and I sometimes stumbling and bumbling through the digital age, supposedly experts in this stuff. But I hope your parents listening to this hear very clearly that there are many just like you, and we can do these things together.
We will link to everything related to the book and Protect Young Eyes in the show notes. Chris, what a privilege. What a pleasure to have you on the pod. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Justin.
The Happy Families podcast is produced by Justin Rulon from Bridge Media. Mim Hammonds provides our research, admin and additional support. If you would like more information to make your family happier, check out the brand new book from Chris McKenna from Protect Young Eyes, The 5 Habits of the Tech-Ready Family. We will link to it in the show notes. You can pre-order it now online and find some hope and help to foster connection, build resilience and prevent harm as your children grow into hopefully wise navigators of a wild digital world. Again, we'll link to it in the show notes. 5 Habits of the Tech-Ready Family from Chris McKenna. Or for more details about raising a happy family generally, visit happyfamilies.com.au.